Happy Sunday night, everybody. We're a little bit more than halfway done with another semester. I'm going to be talking about Stella Adler. She was the main focus for our reading and viewing this week. And she wasn't someone that I really knew about prior to this week's study. I knew her name a little bit. But other than that familiarity, I really didn't know much about her. And I definitely found her to be really interesting as someone that was a performer and then shifted over to teaching and acting. I definitely connect with her because that was also her path, although she certainly had an illustrative career. She certainly had a lot of staying power. When you think about the Stella Adler Conservatory, and not just, the connections through like the Tisch School and NYU, but also she has a whole other conservatory out in California. She really does have a lot of staying power. And I think, one of the big things that I really like about her as an acting teacher is her focus on how understanding our inner lives and external realities can impact our acting. Although she was a member of group theater, she didn't, always follow Lee Strasberg and his methods. Emotional memory just wasn't her thing. She didn't, there was a reference somewhere about like, I don't want to have to think about that time my sister threw up to be able to elicit emotion on the stage in a scene. And I certainly wouldn't want to have to pull up all of my bad memories all the time either. I as a performer, I really like being connected to the character, and I want my actors to connect to the character. And if they want to, use that emotional memory piece, they absolutely can, but there are just so many other methods. And I really thought the way that she works with actors and really pulls from like a variety of sources is much more organic and real, and much more the way I like to do things as well. She was just so precise with her thinking and the things that she had actors do, and the choices that she had them make. There was a quote that said, "You mustn't put anything in your body that doesn't feed the play or your soul." And I really liked that idea of, I'm a teacher, I teach second graders, and I tell my students, an author doesn't put something in a story for no reason. Everything is there for a reason. Every little moment, every little interaction is just a little breadcrumb for you to follow within this story, and there's a purpose behind everything. And I like her thinking about that in the theater world as well. I think it's very true. I mean, I'm not going to go out of my way and build an elaborate set piece for no reason. A character isn't going to have a scene that doesn't drive the story forward, and really everything that they do should be so purposeful. I really enjoyed watching the movie. I felt like it gave me a little peek into her in her world a little bit. Her home, I think that's where she was being interviewed. It looked like a dressing room, like an old Hollywood dressing room where you would like be greeted, which I thought was so cool. But yeah, I definitely felt connected to her more so than the other people that we've studied, like Strasberg. But I still thought that it was great that she was part of the group theater. There was another piece where they talked about how, she really used her own methods and sometimes felt inferior, like she didn't belong in the group theater. She didn't always recognize her own talent or feel like she was good enough to be there, although she's incredibly talented. I thought that was kind of cool. Just showed how humble she was. She said, "Listen with your blood and act with your soul. Take life in so you can draw from it and collect memories, not just from your emotions, but taste, touch, and more." And I really, I thought that was really cool that an actor, sort of like a writer, right? They talk about like living a writerly life. An actor needs to live life that way too. They have to see what they can take in from the world around them, from their experiences, right down to things that they've touched or eaten. And you can draw on all of those reactions on the stage. I thought that was really cool. I thought it was really an interesting chapter. I'm almost at my time, so I could go on. I have more notes, but I think I'll start to wind things down. Maybe I'll kind of end a little bit with this. She was talking, I saw that she would have them, the actors act out everyday actions in character. How would you cut this food? How would you wash your hands? Really having them think about being that character and how they would do everything. I thought that was really cool. and really helps them to develop that inner life and make them more real on the stage. Another thing that she had her actors do was paraphrase dialogue in their own words, and not to disrespect the playwright, but just to make sure that they really understood it. So not to like paraphrase it and do that on the stage, but just to make sure that they really understand what they're saying and they understand the intention behind the character. I thought that was a really cool exercise and something I might try out with my own students. All right, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.